Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hope you're doing well. So, putting food first means that food becomes a priority over entertainment, beautification, and other areas that relate to that. There are quite a number of women who will spend money on adorning themselves first, and then they'll eat fast food, and they won't learn how to cook, and they spend all their money eating out, and then they contend they can't afford organic, or even afford, they're not even able to afford time to cook at home. So what I want you to examine here is that such women have decided to whine and complain instead of looking for a solution to their problem. Now, some women, they will get extremely depressed if they are not with a full face of makeup, and the thought of them not buying makeup and instead buying some organic tomatoes and salads and whatnot horrifies them. They think, well, how can I possibly go outside without my fake eyebrows, my fake eyelashes, and my Botox lips? Like, how could I just not even put anything on? I must hate myself if I do that. When in reality, your outside can't cover the sickness that's on the inside. When you become ill in the hospital because of your poor diet and poor decision making, you won't be able to eat your outfits, and selling your outfits in order to pay your hospital bill is not really going to help you all that much. It is quite fascinating how when people become sick and a pill isn't their cure, because Western medicine is, here's a pill or let us cut you open and chop something off. Where there are other types of medicines that focus on holistic health that's really centered around nutrition. You know, different plants, different teas, wholesome fruits, quality meats, quality seafood, and purified water, you name it. That essentially is how you maintain a good health, and that your gut biome affects your mindset, and being constipated and having irritable bowel syndrome and hemorrhoids and all that is not good for you, right? So you need to avoid that by eating right. But the tongue is a very tricky organ, because some women will spend hours doing their makeup, spending money on the best perfumes, and then they will eat at 7-Eleven, or they'll just eat really bad, and then if they can't get a date, they will just continue to eat really poorly, because they see not only cooking as beneath them, but they're in fact lazy to do it, resentful to do it, bitter to do it, and they enable themselves to keep on being sloth-like because they don't actually want to take the time to have a mini garden, to utilize the space in their backyard, their balcony. They don't really want to drive extra 10-15 minutes to a store that has discount organic items, or do browsing online for different prices that can ship things to your house with a discount. They don't really go around finding ways to get quality items frugally, because you have to be a bit savvy sometimes depending on where you are, right? Instead, they talk about privilege. Oh, you're privileged. You know, poor people can't afford a chia smoothie, and then they mock it, when in reality a small bag of chia seeds is probably, by the pound, maybe $2.99. Get you 2 pounds of chia seeds. You only put like 1 or 2 tablespoons in a smoothie. Get you some organic, fresh or frozen fruit, and then make your own damn smoothie. Instead of buying a $12 smoothie, you made it at home, and the bag of fruit you got is going to be large. Even Costco has organic options sometimes in bulk sizes, if you can afford a Costco membership, right? But either way, you can go around to different stores, compare prices and nickel and dime, and you'd be surprised how much you can afford. But you have to put the work in. If a woman is chubby, she wears a lot of makeup, and she isn't married, and she's talking and she works and she tells me she's not able to afford organic food, I would think to myself, well, you are eating, and what you are eating obviously is not helping your figure. So what you should focus on is having a more minimalistic diet in order to lose that weight. Because if you truly didn't have good food and couldn't afford food, you'd be very slim. But you're eating a lot of processed food, junk food, and you're not exercising, so you're not working that hard, and you are overeating, and you're stress managing with unhealthy food. So maybe if you worked more or got married, stayed home, allowed your man to buy groceries, and then you ate a more clean diet of organic options, so eating less a day than eating a lot of trash food all day, you would actually slim down, look better, and feel better. But instead, you're making excuses about privilege and enabling yourself to stay at rock bottom. Because see, it's a cycle here, and this is something that I had to learn. A lot of women will focus on making themselves pretty instead of their nutrition. And I always found this weird. When you're looking for a husband, the first thing he should be able to afford is food. Love goes out the window if a man will sit there and watch you go hungry, or he feeds you slop, or he doesn't care about your nutrition and only using your body and then tossing you to the side and going on to the next woman. You have to remember, a lot of couples get divorced when health complications arise. Alright? So, you not eating good and making excuses not to eat good and finding ways to be envious and resentful of those who put food first, even though they may be poorer than you, but they're just more savvy than you, this is a problem. Not every person who eats organic or puts food first is a millionaire. If you think about it, how many farmers in Mexico, and basically Central America, even in India, they grow organic food, they eat healthy, but they don't have fancy suits or a boob job or a Brazilian butt lift, right? There's tons of women who idolize wanting to have a luxurious vacation, never-ending Hawaii lifestyle, but they refuse to buy a bag of good beans that haven't been drenched in glyphosate. They refuse to buy grass-fed beef, even though it's $5 more, but if somebody offered them a 10% discount for concert tickets that cost $200, they'd go. They'd spend that money. The reality of it is, whenever you're talking to someone, when they say, I can't afford this, I can't afford that. If you look at what they have in their home, you'd be surprised about where do they spend their money. They don't know what's important. And for some reason, because our organs are on the inside, people forget how nutrition is a huge part of how you feel about yourself. And when you're sick, you're actually more resentful sometimes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Your body has rights over you. You have a duty to your body. Feeding your body healthy foods is more important than buying a wig, buying the latest eyeshadow, getting more fake eyelashes. Food is number one. See, what's fascinating is there'll be some girls who, if they worked out and ate less, wore less makeup, they would be a solid 8. But because they eat poor and they don't take care of their nutrition, they are worse looking than a plain Jane farmer girl who doesn't have all that fancy plastic surgery and makeup, but what she eats is on point. Really think about that. Men are more attracted to health than trying to cover up your sickliness via makeup, Photoshop, and AI filters. You should really be scared of not eating good. The amount of cancers and the amount of provable research that shows how non-organic, pesticides, herbicides, fungicides not only give cancer to the farm workers who have to spray that crap, but it pollutes the water wells. And if more people choose the organic options, it becomes more economically savvy for those who grow it. Not letting these big companies take over is the issue here. More people would also argue that this poison-laced food, we'll call it, is a form of eugenics, causing mental illness, gut disorders, cancers, different mental defects, and deformities in child rearing, micropenises, infertility. Like, there's tons and tons of research that is out there that I'm not just going to spend all day linking to, but that I paid a lot of attention to, that show that the pollution of the water wells and everything around industrialized farming, which makes everything worse and got rid of smaller family farms, is really bad for the planet and bad for you. You know, these Monsanto companies and GMOs and Ready Roundups, they spend a lot of money on brainwashing people to spend on a $15 cocktail in order to meet that handsome guy. But if you spend some money on kale or good romaine lettuce or heirloom tomatoes, somehow you're backwards. It's surprising also further how people will think if you have some fresh mozzarella, basil, and heirloom tomatoes, put a little bit of salt, black pepper, olive oil, balsamic vinegar, and eat that as dinner, a caprese salad, that's somehow not enough. I like to mix it up. Sometimes I'll have something rich that will last me, like, don't eat past 7 o'clock, right? Unless it's like a little bit of olives or a slice of really good cheese or something like that. But you can buy quality things and eat less. And you would be surprised how more in shape you'll be and how faster you'll lose weight. This isn't starvation or anything like that. But it actually helps you to be content with a different kind of palate. A lot of people eat too much artificial things. And then their digestion is just rocky and they're not going poo for 3 days, and it's a huge issue. Choosing sodas when you could choose different teas. Good quality organic, just herbal teas. Have your own tea garden, dry the herbs. But people say, I don't have time for this, I don't have time for that. But in reality, they do. But it's more comfortable to off-put responsibility onto others and to have a pity party for yourself and say, I can't, instead of, let me find a way. Because if you go to Chinatown, San Francisco, for example, you don't have the money, you can still take the bus, get you some bulk teas, bring it home. Okay? If you don't want to go to, like, a mainstream market and then buy bulk teas there. What I'm trying to point out is there are so many different markets that'll have items you need. And sometimes the truth is, it's better to support the good farmers who are humane certified, organic, non-GMO. The animals get to be pasture raised instead of spending money on the factory farmers who abuse the animals and the animals have a miserable life. It's worth it to spend more on the good meat than the bad meat. And you need to learn to not feel insecure because you're not keeping up with the Joneses because you put food first. I'd rather eat like a queen and dress like a pauper than dress like a queen and eat like a beggar. Do you see what I'm trying to say? No one can ever make me feel like a loser because I don't dress in expensive clothes with Apple Watches and the latest iPhone or whatever, when I am able to cook wholesome food from scratch with quality ingredients, and that I have a man who also puts food first. You and your husband and your future husband should be on the same page as to the importance of food. Do not trivialize and underestimate the power of food. This doesn't mean you can't have a cheat day. I love making desserts, but what do? I make desserts with the best ingredients possible. And I experiment using agave nectar, using maple syrup, using raw honey, okay? Different things. Buying real raw honey may cost $2 more, but it's better than that sort of fake industrialized honey because all the nutrients have been cooked out of it. Okay, and even the texture is different. There are so many ways you can feel good about putting food first that you must consider. It doesn't do you good if you're like, well, it's privilege. Privilege. Don't be like these Wokians who make excuses about why they are not able to have a mini garden, why they're not able to have a tea garden. They have maybe land, let's say, they don't want to have a chicken coop and have eggs and sell those eggs. There's so many ways to have good quality food and survive. But people will not admit to themselves that they are lazy, that they actually don't care, and they will only care once they are sick, and they will be begging doctors to stuff them full of pills and thinking that's going to cure their self-hatred and the way they loathe themselves. Like I said, America is a nation where there's so many food banks, okay? Where you could be poor and have a yard, unless you're in New York City, right? In New York City or something like that. But would argue, is it better to be poor in a rural area where you can buy a packet of seeds for $3.99 and find ways to eat rich food? Or is it better to stay in the city, earn more, have all your money go towards rent, and then you're eating fast food constantly and food that is nutritionally dead? Because hospital bills cost a lot. You investing in your health is the sign of mental maturity. It is a sign that you love yourself. That is self-care. Putting food first is self-care. Not your nails, not your eyelashes, not your eyeliner, not your foundations, not getting a nose job, not buying more fancy Victoria's Secret. Food first. Food first. For you and your children. And then teaching this discipline to your children. Hey, so-and-so may be able to go to Disneyland, but what do you have? A high-quality, organic, pasture-raised, non-GMO, humane certified chicken, which used to just be regular chicken, but factory farms took over and started pumping animals full of hormones, torturing them basically in their life, making life super miserable, and this was a problem. Further, if you want to go all the way out and think about it, if every house had an apple tree and gave some of those apples away, that would be quite amazing. If everybody grew food instead of lawns, that would be even more amazing. What if every house had chickens? Really think about how there's seeds all over the corn cob, the strawberry, the tomato, the kiwi, oranges, apples, pineapples. There's so many seeds. So starvation is actually something that is a system of control that preys upon the human's desire to be lazy and to live like a queen while not really being one, sort of lying to oneself. Lying to oneself that you're above growing your own food and getting your hands in the soil. You're above learning how to butcher a chicken. You're above cleaning cow dung out of the backyard and then learning how to butcher that cow yourself. There's a problem with that. That women who think they're upper class aristocrats, but in reality are not even middle class, thinking they're above being more rustic and primal. Because the long nails with all the jewels on it and the painted eyebrows and the attitude, this is pushed as showing a sign of decadence that you made it. And then women who are sweating outside, pulling up weeds and yanking carrots out of the ground are seen as like they haven't made it. In reality, they have made it, because now they have grown their own food and become more independent and self-sufficient. That is actual freedom and liberation. That is possible. Even if it's something small, you should still be grateful for it and still try. So don't sit back and say, I can't afford organic, I can't do this, I can't do that. No, you find a way. Look at what you can do. There's a lot of tutorials on how you can do this and how you can survive. and how you can thrive. Very few exceptions where people can't, like people in war zones, refugees, they don't have a stable home. That's quite different. But there is social safety nets in many countries. And if you grow a peach tree, an apple tree, a lemon tree, all that, you will have extra bounty to give to the needy. And you will be part of the solution instead of the problem. But some people think they're above tending to a tree, tending to a pumpkin patch, tending to a watermelon patch. And so it is essential that you put food first before clothing. And that you do not feel ashamed of not having Versace, Gucci, Prada. And you don't need more than 8 outfits. And once you have those 8 outfits, and if you can't sew a hole in it, you don't need to keep buying more. You know, it's okay to be minimalistic and put that profit that you've saved, that capital, into food. Food is wealth. Okay? People will spend on jewelry so that they can look rich to others, and they eat so badly, and they're so dependent on the supermarket system that they actually think they've made it. No, food is the ultimate freedom, and I'd urge you to put food first, to be brave, and to not fear being looked down upon for not having this sort of debonair suaveness to you in terms of fashion. Food is important. And truly wealthy people, they actually are selective where they go out to eat, but they are into like niche organic foodstuffs, farmers markets, you name it. But they have so much bounty that they're able to have the best of both worlds. If you don't have that, you must put food first. Must put food first. If you're going out to restaurants and you don't want to cook at home because you're tired, those restaurants are cooking organic. But if you took that $20 plus your partners and you went and bought some food that you can make at home with wholesome ingredients, and you got used to that routine, you'd get better and more accustomed to eating a cleaner, better diet. Now, let me give you another example. Casseroles. I've gotten really good at casseroles, which, alhamdulillah, you can use organic ingredients, but it's a very full meal. So it's meant to fill you up for the rest of the day. So you have your light breakfast, your lunch, and then dinner around maybe 4 or 5, and then you don't eat again till the next day, right? These casseroles are filling and offer you enough nutrients to where you don't have to eat again. Now, there's tons of different fad diets out there. I'm just trying to explain to you that making casseroles or stews that you eat over a 2-day period, 2-3 days, that actually is very filling. But you have to take the time to make that, lasagna, things like that. Things that are going to add some weight to your stomach in terms of fulfilling you so you can go the rest of the night without wanting to eat. If you wake up in the night to go to the bathroom, your stomach's not going to be giving you pangs because it's kind of shrunk and gotten accustomed to your eating pattern. Now, throwing in a dessert once in a while isn't going to hurt you because you have eaten minimalistically throughout. And so I'd argue that putting food first is wise, shows maturity, shows that you love yourself and you love your children and that you are responsible. If a man spends on his clothes and his cologne and his gym memberships but won't spend on groceries, he is not a quality man. A man who puts food first, who cares about what goes into your body and wants to see you healthy and thrive, that's a good man. If he makes excuses why he can't get a second, third job because he doesn't want to buy you organic groceries, that is a lazy man. You want a man who is going to bring home best groceries. Think about, in the past, the man who brought a good juicy deer, a nice huge fish to his woman and his children. That was seen as a provider. If he brought home a basket of berries, tossed it to his woman, put his feet up, and they're starving, he wouldn't be seen as a good provider. The hunters going out and testing themselves and working hard to bring home a nice juicy buffalo or stag, you name it, that was a good man. In today's world, that translates to a man who will have the means to get you the groceries you need for the week. So you go 4 times a month to the grocery store. You meal plan every meal. So you're basically going once a week to the store. And you are making full meals that you like. Doesn't mean you have to have meat, veggie, and something. Sometimes you can literally just have some pinto beans with beef tallow, some cheese, minced jalapenos in there, and some onions, and that's your dinner. Sometimes you can have a nice roast sweet potatoes and carrots. Maybe a little dessert. Do you see what I'm trying to say? There are ways to have good meals that are still comforting with quality ingredients that take time to make, and you can feel like you are accomplishing something, which is providing your stomach and your body with the nutrients that taste good and will add to your health overall. So be very cautious of listening to women who will be out of shape, they are chubby, they spend all on clothes and makeup, and try to tell you how you cannot get a fruit smoothie for $10. Do you see what I'm trying to say? Those types of women don't put nutrition first. Do not listen to people who don't care about their own health. Excuses, excuses, excuses. Listen to those who say, what is the solution? Let's find the problem, let's identify it, and let's lay out a roadmap on how we are going to tackle this. Let's strategize. People who pump you up and help you find the correct methodology to get to where you want to get in terms of filling up your pantry, right? And also keeping an eye out for sales. There's like buy 2, get 1 free. You'd be so surprised how you can pay attention to when things go on sale, and you may not need it at that time, but you may want it later. So let's say there's chicken broth, organic quality chicken broth. They want to clear the shelves because they're going to put in different items, and it used to be costly to have each item. Now they're doing like buy 2, get 1 free, you name it. Those kinds of marketing things they do. You get a couple because you have it in your budget. Then when you need it, it's there, and before it gets off of sale. There are tons of ways to make that work. If you can't afford mayonnaise, it's very simple to make aioli. Egg yolk and essentially olive oil. Once you invest in cookbooks and invest your time in making rich foods, you'll learn how to make things on your own and realize the staples of your pantry, and you'll be able to eat, you'll be able to eat like the kings and queens of old. I'm telling you, but you have to actually see the reality for what it is. Food is the most important thing. You have rent, obviously bills, but I'm talking about food before everything else. This is very difficult, though, I understand, for some women to get, because they want to be sexy. They want to be the eye candy for men, and they feel like food is just not that important because they're young now and have looks now. So they think that they can neglect and starve their body and eat junk food constantly, and that it will never backfire until suddenly it does. So encourage your man, if he isn't already, to put food first. When you're looking for a suitor, discuss putting food first. And if he's into that, and if he's not, that's the kind of man who will leave you if you get sick or you have a surgery or something like that, because he can no longer use you for your body. He only wanted you for your orifices, and he isn't really attached to you. He doesn't really care about your nutrition or what happens to you, and he's going to dump you and go get a new chick. You have to remember, healthcare costs are astronomical. Keep your health good by eating good foods. Do not listen to these fat acceptance people and others who use drugs and then party and say, well, I'm healthy, I'm fine, so therefore you can just do all this crazy stuff and not even eat good. Be mindful. Be mindful. Think about what I'm saying. Look at what you can do, what you can grow, who you can network with, who you can barter with, and find a solution. Realize that you're not above growing your own food. You're not above going fishing. Be a stay-at-home mom if you're able, and you'd be surprised how your brain will switch to finding solutions to your problems. But when you're serving others at work and you don't have time to think about your own predicaments, You're not going to find solutions as easy. Things will feel hopeless. But when you focus and you're mindful on your life and what you can do to improve it in terms of food, you'd be surprised. Even you can go to certain food banks that let you decide how, like, they give you a bag and they say, fill this up and then you can come here. So oftentimes you will see some organic options in there, right? But let's say you buy what you can on organic, and then whatever else you need, you go and go to the food bank and get it. And then you save up little by little so that you get some capital, and then you go and buy organic frequently. I'm telling you, a lot of people can't afford organic if they cut out entertainment and find different ways to cope with stress, or if they stop buying weed, or they stop buying beer, you name it, but they don't. So those people should not be given advice and encouraging envy when they have the means but they choose not to. So now they just finger point at people who put them first and call them privileged, trying to shame them for being responsible with their health. I hope you see what I was trying to do here, because I find food to be very important, especially as someone who grew up with food insecurity. And I don't think it's a joke, and I'm very passionate about it, right? So let me know what you think. If you'd like to join my blog, it's www.subscribestar.com/Milahan Archive. Hope to see you there.